Hi everyone, James Corser here. Welcome to the Money Paradox podcast. Today we are in for a treat. We've got Gregor Matthews on the show. We're going to be talking about all things money, getting deep and personal on where Greg is at now, how he got there, and the lessons he learned along the way. Now, the reason why I'm so excited to get Greg on the show is because, Greg, I've known you for many, many years, but we've actually only been working on kind of the finances side of things for the last 3 years. And when I first met Greg, he was working on a really fledgling business, counting the coins, really, let's be honest, struggling. And in only those 3 years now, Greg has absolutely transformed his finances. He has kind of taken his income through the roof. He is independently working for global firms, consulting on a basis where he is geographically independent, so he's able to travel the world on that basis. And kind of through that kind of transformed income is massively opened doors in terms of what he's investing in, how he's living his life. And so, Greg, I want to get you in and talk about how you got to that position, but also the kind of lessons you learned along the way. But before we do that, do you want to just give a bit of a background for those watching?
Sure, yeah. And thanks for inviting me along, James. I mean, we go way back, and I enjoy the podcast and the business, and I think what you're doing is, it's really needed. It's a topic that's, not really talked about that much, and it's super important. And I've learned a lot, over the last sort of 10 years, really. And it's, so thanks for having me along. A bit of background on me. I mean, you kind of gave an intro. I guess I, grew up in a comfortable, household, very supportive. Money wasn't really an issue, but it wasn't really sort of talked about that much. So I guess I kind of learned about money quite late, and it's kind of been a gradual kind of growth trajectory, on that over the last while, and then it's really accelerated over the last, few years with some key milestones, along that journey. I'm happy to go into them today as we go through this.
Cool. Well, look, let's first start with where you're at now. So, I gave a bit of a highlight, but dive a bit deeper into a little flavor on what you're up to.
Yeah, so I mean, right now I'm in Dublin in Ireland. Just arrived about a week ago, and I'm working, days and going surfing at the weekends and hanging out with friends, and it's been amazing. I about a year ago started consulting for one main global retailer, and it's transformed my income really. And it kind of was, it wasn't something that happened overnight. It wasn't luck. It was kind of there was real intention as to what I was trying to do. And it was kind of, you hinted on it earlier, it was sort of recovering from essentially a failed startup that I ran with an amazing other guy, and we did some great stuff, but financially it didn't work out, and it was really tough. And it was sort of it was some serious penny pinching, and for years. And and it kind of didn't, it failed. And I got to sort of late 20s, and I wasn't where I wanted to be financially, and that was a real sort of driving force to go out and get a sort of step change sort of setup to build resources. And that's kind of that's been over the last year, and it's been a real focus of mine, and it's something I've enjoyed, and I've spent a lot of time and energy on, over the last few years, with yourself.
Cool. Well, mate, I think you're massively underplaying it there, and I think there's two key areas that I want to kind of jump into more detail, because I think a lot of people watching this will really benefit from the thoughts around it. Two things. One, being able to be location independent. A lot of people would dream of that, being able to kind of go live wherever they want in the world and still be able to do their day job, right? So, and then the second one is going from a place where money was super tight, super tough, to a place where money is healthy. Let's be honest, to a high level, which has kind of massively opened doors, but also being independent. So you're not an employee right anymore. You work for yourself, independent person, consulting for the company. So that's where I want to be drilling into, because I think that is where I think a lot of people's ears are going to prick up and start to. So firstly, location independent. Talk me through, how did you make that happen? And what advice would you give to others trying to make a similar shift?
Yeah, well, I guess it started with, so I was living in Sweden at the time, and it really started with, almost on a daily basis, I had the objective for a step change job, to grow my finances and to work remote. So it was like a real, I thought about that every day, and it was
daily intentions. Remind you.
Yeah. It was clear. I was coming from a place where I felt behind. From the startup. I wanted to achieve this step change job, and I wanted location independence, because at the time it was about moving back to Scotland, which is where I grew up, and so it was being clear on the objective I was looking at, and then thinking about it every single day, and then call it fortunate or not, like the opportunity arose where those things came together.
Well, I'm a big believer in, look, I definitely agree with luck and fortune, and so fair to connect it to that. The way I kind of look at life is more like, it's like a bingo, like a game of bingo, right? And every time you do something, you make a decision, or you exert in a particular direction, take an action, you're kind of putting these various bingo balls in, right? Some of those bingo balls are like gold and sweet and awesome. Others black and kind of suck. And there's others are white, it's kind of neutral and like placid. And some of these things that you're doing for me are like putting those kind of gold balls in, right? So every day you take the ball out, and a lot of those times the ball's going to be kind of neutral or kind of suck. Others, it's going to be great, right? So although you've got that luck playing out, Greg, there's clearly some things that you've been doing that have kind of pushed you in that direction. So what I'm hearing is setting that daily intention. Another one I was hearing is you were connecting it to something that was really important to you as part of your kind of higher purpose. You wanted at the time to go back and live in Scotland, right? Maybe be part with your family, to start kind of life in there. Was that a strong pull that was, I don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, I think, when you feel you're not where you want to be financially, it's like, whether it's about providing, it's like that was a real motivating, factor. It was like, I have these aspirations, and I feel behind, and this is now a focus, and on a daily basis, and also, speaking to, regulate to guys like yourself, and just talking more about it. But the more, the older I get, the more I just realize that, it is about those daily habits, those daily, what you're thinking about. It's about, being clear on that stuff, and the rest does follow. And I see that in different areas of my life. And, today we're talking about finances, and that's yeah, that's the proof is in the process and the outcome.
Yeah. So those daily habits, putting things in place where you're doing it on a regular basis. So setting that intention. But what were those daily habits? So obviously you were intent on looking at it. You hinted there that you were talking more about the subjects. So obviously we worked together quite closely on the subject. So that was increasing the level of focus you had in this area, the amount of time you spent in this area. Naturally, your mind's going to start coming up with ideas and solutions as a result. But what specific things were you doing on a daily basis? Bear in mind, right, someone might be watching this and be thinking, I want to make the shift, but, you know, I'm not Greg, you know, I'm not struggling, I've got this massive need, or I don't have friends around me, you know, what specifically recommend to others who are kind of that 3 years behind?
Yeah, there's a number of things that spring to mind there, and it's you know, we always talk about it with you about, like, you know, the process and just starting the process. And I actually think back to, you know, an older time when actually my old business partner, who's a great guy, Ernie, he so and it links back to kind of my upbringing, you know, where money wasn't really talked about. And I remember, you know, quite young, first job, and Ernie's brother was really good with money, and he sort of told Ernie about having a fun card, and it was an account that, you know, you loaded once per month money onto that, and that was the card that you used for any sort of frivolous spending. And I remember this idea of the fun card came along, and I started to adopt it, and so therefore I had, you know, my monthly expenses were all kind of in one account and they were taken care of. And then every month I moved, you know, a few £100 to my fun card, and that was what I could spend. And I was amazed just by that small action. I was amazed at just how over time I ended up saving, you know, quite a good amount of money. And I think that's just one example of, like, maybe a small habit that was done early on that made me realize that actually, you know, for something like money, those little habits, they actually do, you know, start to stack up. So that's a while ago. And then if I think to the kind of recent, you know, transitions, I think it was about, so one was like awareness of where I was financially, you know, where I wanted to be financially, and then day to day thinking about, okay, what's, you know, I do the 5-minute journal, you know, like do you know about that? Or maybe some of the listeners will have heard about that, but it's, you know, just every day it's like, okay, 3 great things that are going to be, you're going to make this, 3 things that are going to make this day great. And then at the end of the day, it's like, you know, 3 things that just, those kinds of small things on a daily basis, especially when linked to, say, work, about, you know, what one bit of value, or what's my one output of today that I'm going to do, and committing to that, you know, first thing in the morning with a cup of coffee. And that would be, you know, I would then make sure that got done, you know, that day. And I think it's just those little, you know, in terms of transformation, it's those like little daily things that start to stack up.
I see. So, okay, great, really powerful. So, okay, so in terms of making that shift to location independence, a lot of the things you were talking about seem to also apply to making that shift just generally. You hinted at moving from being in Sweden to independently working now. Talk me through that. So, you know, I mean, even that, you know, for a lot of people are scared to even work abroad. So talk me through what made you move to another country to work.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, I mean, that's a big question, because it goes back to, yeah, I guess, growing up in rural Scotland, I used to skateboard a lot. You know, you would get the influx of the American culture around skateboarding. It all felt very, you know, tropical and amazing, and so there
Sweden.
was always this.
Sweden's tropical.
No, not Sweden, but I'm going back to. I mean, the question you ask is a big question, right? And it's like, why did I move to Sweden?
Okay, so there was a whole feed into that.
Well, just as there has been for a long time the allure of going abroad and traveling and different cultures, and so there's all of that. But to answer your question, directly, it was a relationship at the time. She was in Copenhagen, and I was looking in that area for work, and I don't speak Danish or Swedish, so I was looking for global companies, and I found a global company, and so moved out.
Cool. Okay, so it was more organic based on your current situation at the time. So having done that, so you go from working this fledgling business that was struggling to move over to Sweden, right, and going for full-time employment again. Do you think that shift helped in terms of what you created now?
Well, I was hungry.
Okay.
I was really hungry. I'm not.
What do you mean by
that?
Food.
I mean, I was motivated. I was on a mission. I was on a mission. I felt behind. I was gonna get back on track. I was on a mission. Turned up, a big global business, having only worked for small businesses before myself. Straight into like a global queue. Talking all kinds of acronyms that I'd never heard of. But I was on a mission. I was there to deliver value, prove myself and increase my earnings, and then figure out what to do with those earnings.
So connecting this back to the viewers, right? You obviously got into a position where you were like, I need to get out of this. I need to catch up. I need to get to where I actually feel like I need to be right now. Mm-hmm. You're on a kind of mission, one track mind. Mm-hmm. And I remember, and I saw it, and it was impressive. How do you invoke that? Can you invoke that? Is it just a case of circumstances come together to just so happen be that you go on this mission mode from certain experiences in a situation and so on? Or is that something that you can consciously move into to invoke this kind of transformation?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, for me, I've always sort of had a bit of a one-track mind. When there's generally one thing, and it's like, okay, a lot of energy goes into that. But I think the interesting thing with money, or I think it's the kind of topic, because it's not, because it's not talked about so much. There's a lot of complexity around it. Like, I think a lot of people push it to the background and don't sort of deal with it head on. And I wonder, because it's, I guess, you know more about it than I do, and your mission, which is so cool and I'm a big fan of. It's like, this stuff, how important is, budgeting and investing and understanding all, like, why is it not taught, early on in school? Like this, it's so important, to understand this topic. But this mission, I don't know, I guess it's quite a personal thing. It's like, why are you doing it? Is it for freedom? Is it for security? Is it so you can buy a fancy car? Like, what it is, I guess it's connecting it to, I guess thinking of the viewers, it's like, why are you interested in learning more about this area? What is it for you? And I guess for me, there was a feeling of I'm behind, where I wanted to be, felt I should be. That was a thing. And it was also I think a lot about, having a family and like, providing and like the life I want to have with, my wife and kids. Like, I think about that motivates me, on a daily basis. And then if I feel like I'm not on that trajectory, then, I kind of have a problem. So I then need to sort of tackle it head on. So yeah, it's a bit of a waffly roundabout,
Not at all. I was trying
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
You'd be unsurprised to hear that I agree. And I'm glad you went there, because it's at the heart of my view on the subject. I think you can invoke this whole mission mindset in yourself and really drive quite incredible action and results through tapping into what is important to you. I think for most people, they aren't really clear what's important. They kind of drift through life not really having a purpose, taking each day as it comes, and taking the path that's laid out for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay, there's no judgment there. That's the life someone wants to roll with, then do it. But if you're sitting here watching this thinking, I really want something better for my life, and that is substantially different to where I am right now, personally, I think the best way is to really tap into what we ultimately want. Really think about that. Where do I want to ultimately be? Thinking about that, and then understand, well, what do I need to put in place to get there? And as you start to do that, you start to bridge the gap mentally between where you want to get to right now. Start to think about what are the things you need to put in place to bridge that. And effectively, that's what you did. You got to that point. You took a hard look at where you ultimately wanted to get to and thought, shit, that's a long way off. Right?
Yeah.
And
do you remember you actually came? I remember it really well. Like, you came to Sweden and we went for a coffee, and I remember standing in the queue looking at, they got these delicious cinnamon buns in Sweden. They're so good. And I like them a lot. And I remember standing in the queue and I was looking at it. I was like, I'm going to get a cinnamon bun. And I was like, nah, I don't need it. I don't need it. And it was because I was like, I don't need it. And it's, it's a few, euros or whatever. Like, yeah, it's fine. And you just looked at me, and I remember you thinking, like, you have such a scarcity mindset right now. Like, just get the cinnamon bun. Like, don't sweat the small stuff. And that really came from this place. And I think some of it's good. Some of it has been healthy, of, living on like, 700 quid a month, and we were scraping to make 700 quid a month. And what that made me do was, really live with a low burn rate. Like, it was living on, very light fumes, and some of that's good. But there was a point where it was like, that's actually detrimental. And that's carried on. I'm starting to shake it now, but it's, I'm happy. I'm going to hold on to some of it, but I remember you looking at me specifically and being like, just get the cinnamon bun and don't sweat it. But yeah, I just want to share that story.
I actually want to move there because, well, number one, I totally relate in that I came from a very poor background, and there's some parts of me that's so stingy still to this day. Like, I still go and I look at the reduced section. I don't even buy anything. It's just like a default. I go there, I'm like, that's a good deal. Like, it's like 60% off. I'm like, I don't even eat like cheese lasagna, vegan lasagna. Like, I don't even want that. But it's a really good price. It's like burn into from living
hardwired.
Hardship, making ends meet to create space and still be able to like live comfortably and having pleasures in times of hardship. So I totally connect. I also remember that story, and I thought, you are so far down the stingy rabbit hole, Greg, at the time. Like, you were just going crazy. And like, I couldn't even break through to you. I was like, dude, just just buy the cinnamon bun. You're like, no, I'm cool, man, I'm cool.
Like, nah, I don't need it. I don't need it. It's fine.
But I want to move there because I think it's really important for a lot of people watching, in that a lot of people really struggle with managing their money well. And, you know, they get to the end of the month and there's always more month than money, and whatever they do to try and budget or put some kind of plan in place, it kind of screws up, or they say, I don't have enough money, how can I do this, right? It's kind of up in arms, very frustrating. So it'd be good to go into that and get your thoughts on it and how you manage to do it. But before I do, I think it's really important to recognize there's a number of different kind of core pillars to a good financial sense, to making a successful financial future. And if you just focus on one, it's not going to work. It's like having a chair with one leg. It's just going to fall over. And, you know, if you really work hard and you hold it with one leg, you know, then it will stay up, but it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, and it's a bit of a crap chair. You know, the more legs you're focusing on, the more stable it is. And managing your money, kind of budgeting or managing what you spend, really important area. Income, really important area. Investing, another really important area. There's a whole load, but certainly those three are three of the most important. And if you nail all of those three together, you're going to do so much better. They're like multipliers. They multiply each other and get a compound. So if you're really good at spending well, so you're keeping that down, so you're investing a lot of the savings, and you're driving huge amounts of earnings, right? There's a lot of money coming through the door that you've been able to do. All of those three together will get you to a really strong place, right? So it's not just getting super stingy on one or driving loads of money and just think, well, if I earn loads, then everything else will take care of itself, right? Or going, you know what? I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to get 10% return instead of 4% return. And when I do that, everything's going to be amazing. Because if there's no money going in, you know, how's a 10% on a small number going to make any difference? It's not, right? It's about getting all of those through. So I just wanted to call that out, you know, for those that are kind of listening to this and thinking, oh, you know, like, I don't want to touch budgeting, or no, I'm really obsessed with it. But anyway, moving on into your own situation, talk me through what you did to get through those difficult times, to still have a cool life, still have those pleasures, have fun, and be disciplined with it.
Yeah, I guess to maybe elaborate a bit more on the fun card, because that's still kind of lives today.
Still doing it?
Yeah. And I guess there's like, if I go back to not having much coming in, there was still an element of, okay, I wasn't saving anything at the time, I wasn't investing at the time, but it was more just managing my costs. So I had, you know, one account where, you know, rent, bills, you know, my phone, my X amount on food every week, you know, that would come out of the one account. And then I still had another account which I would siphon off, you know, 100 quid, 200 quid, that was what I would, you know, use for, you know, say going out for dinner, or, you know, a flight, or, you know, sort of frivolous kind of non-essential costs. And I kind of had those two systems going, and I still, you know, kind of have those today. But now that income has grown, you know, or if I go back to then the move to Sweden where income grew a bit, you know, I was then, because I was in that quite hardcore, you know, don't buy the cinnamon bun mindset. You know, I was taking 50%, which obviously sounds quite extreme, but 50% of my income was going into a savings / investment account. And then the 50% was then split on, you know, my rent, you know, my food, that account, and then the fun account. And maybe I wasn't, you know, I was still having plenty of fun, but I wasn't, you know, I have a lot of fun without having to spend a lot of money, and I think there's I enjoy that. And then there's also an element of, with the fun card, there was an element of gaming. Like, when I got to the end of the month and I'd managed to, stick to that, the plan, and like I'd managed to save, the 200 quid, or that was, it felt like a sense of achievement, and I think that gaming, feeling with it was quite sticky. It made it last. Now it's now there's, I have the investment account on top of that, and we can talk about that if you want, and how I'm dealing with that area. But does that kind of cover what you were?
It does. I want to pull out some key bits. So number one, what I'm hearing is, because you had that strong financial discipline through those hard times, that carried through to when your income grew hugely and you're earning a lot of money, but you were still able to save 50% of what was coming through. So
and I think on that, the lifestyle creep that goes on, that's a big point. And as I think, particularly with, salary, and just as your salary grows, you start, you maybe get a nicer apartment, you maybe buy a nicer car, you maybe, but like, actually it was quite sort of, I've, maintained largely the same, lifestyle as the income has grown, and any gains are then, saved and invested, because the ultimate objective, is not to buy a fancy car. The ultimate objective is to have a life and freedom and provide for my family, and that's the motivation, not the.
No, exactly. So it goes back to the point we were talking about before, right? Your mission. What do you ultimately want?
Yeah.
So when you decided to make that shift and kind of say, right, this is the journey I want to go on, this is where I want to get to, this is what I want to create, because that's really important to me. Number one, you got to know what that is. Two, it's got to be compelling enough. You got to be, really wanting it, which you clearly did and do, and it's so clear from when you talk about it. Okay, but then also when things pop up, right? Like, okay, so you make more money, and you've got an opportunity to spend more of it, or to save that additional amount. Like you say, when you present with that opportunity, you're making that decision based on that ultimate mission. What do you actually want from life? Okay, what I ultimately want is this future for me, my family, my kids, being able to live where I want and on the terms I want. Your decision in that moment is to say, you know what, I'm going to save that money. Because if I save it, then I can start to build that financial future for what I really want, rather than getting a nicer car or going out partying and doing whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So powerful. So really just comes down to this, knowing what it is that you want and connecting where you are in this journey, right? All the decisions you're making to that. Coming back to what you were talking about around the structure of things. So you kind of said you were having a limited amount of money coming in each month, and there were kind of two main buckets you're putting it into. One, which was you're going to like your bills, right? Rent and stuff like that. And then the second one, which was the fun one. Talk me through that, like just practically, like logically. So where was the money coming in, and then what did you do with it? So
I think I'd calculated, X amount on rent, X amount on bills, X amount on phone, 50 quid, 100 quid on food per week, or times 4 per month. And I guess that was my kind of like fixed costs every month. So I guess my money would come into one account.
You can just make up numbers, or if you're comfortable talking about the numbers you were making.
Oh, I mean, I'm going back now. 600 quid rent, 30 quid phone.
So how much were bills in total? How much were bills in total back then?
it's going back a while now, James.
Well, make up some numbers just to give some examples. So let's say bills were like 700, right, coming in.
Yeah.
So did you basically just split a certain amount of money that you could do and kind of just do whatever with? How did it work in practice?
Yeah, so it was money into one account. In that account, I had all my sort of direct debits set up with, the phone, the rent, all that kind of thing. So I would know, let's say £1,000 come in, I would know that £700 is already allocated. Like that money's got to go out, regardless of what I do. That money's going out. So 1,000 in, 700 already allocated, leaving 300 left. So I would have probably gone, okay, well, I probably need £100 of buffer. So I'll leave, 800 remains in that account, and I actually move 200 out. As soon as I get paid, 200 goes out to my fun account. And when I'm, out on the fly, something comes up, I go meet someone, I only have that one card which has the 200 on it, and that's when I, buy the coffee and maybe not the cinnamon bun, and then when that runs out, and that was, and then I would sort of monitor the other account to be like, okay, just checking there's no kind of curveballs landing in that account. And I guess like with the modern day, Revoluts and Monzos and stuff, that the visibility, the awareness has got, that much better.
Okay, so to clarify them, effectively you had clear what was coming in. You had a specific number on what was all bills, what you had to kind of had commitments around each month. Specific number on that, made sure there was that amount in there each month, kept tabs on it to making sure it was always covered for, but you knew that number, right? So you always would know that was covered. Then you have another specific number, same number each month, going to a separate account for fun. So no matter how, metaphorically poor you were or relatively poor you were at the time, you were still able to do stuff and have fun and kind of go crazy and do whatever you wanted, so long as it fitted to that number. Yeah. So whenever you had opportunities to spend that money, you'd always kind of compare it to what was in there, and then get to that. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And then I think the strength of that is like, okay, so say the £1,000, you get a promotion or whatever, and it goes to £2,000. Actually, sticking with the 800 allocated fixed, the 200 fun. I mean, this is a bit stingy. Maybe you would get a bit more fun, but for hypothetical reasons, then the 1,000 that you've just gained, actually that moves into, a savings account. And then maybe some of that moves into an investment account. And that's kind of taking that mindset through even when your income grows, I think is more about it than I do, but like a key to kind of unlocking, sort of on the track to financial freedom and the rest of it. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're talking about the pillar around that kind of budgeting discipline or putting a plan around it, and effectively having a clear number around your fund money, your kind of commitments money, and then as your income grew, you effectively saved the vast majority of that increase. Is that right? Yeah. So then all that's on top, and that's going into your kind of financial freedom fund to build up for that future. Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. So that's probably a good segue into kind of the world of what do you do with that money? So making more money, and that money gets more exciting, more interesting. You start being able to do more with it because it's a bigger number. Talk me through what you did there. You start to pile that money into a savings account. Then what? Do you let it sit there?
Yeah, it's funny because it's you I guess as I go through life, you just trade up problems, right? It's you then, and it's a good problem, and I'm super grateful for it. But it's like then okay, you now have money, and then it's like, right, what do I do with this money? And then you have to start understanding more, and and that's a whole journey that I'm on at the moment, and you've been helping with that, James. So I guess what I do at the moment is mainly I'm following stocks and shares ISA. So every year I have a 20k allowance that is tax free, and I'm following an approach which James, you've talked about in some of your videos, and I read it in a book and we've discussed it a lot, and it's a guy called Ray Dalio, and it's called the All-Weather Portfolio, and they've backtracked it a long time, and it's performed pretty good in most economic climates, and it feels like a quite in my eyes a quite like safe, robust approach. And I basically every month I put money in to top up that portfolio all the way for the full year. So every month I'm putting £1,500 in, and then it's split between stocks, bonds, commodities, and gold. And yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. And then I'm also starting to educate myself on property and looking into that area as well, because I'm going to have I have both cash personally, but also cash within a limited company, so retained earnings in there, which I need to figure out what to do with that. So yeah, I'm kind of brick by brick, understanding this kind of next stage right now, and it's fun, and learning a lot, and
Good. So some really interesting points came out of that. So let me see if I can pull those out. So firstly, it's as we move through life and we evolve and we level up, we just have more problems. They're just different problems, right?
Biggie Small said it well.
Exactly. True.
It's true.
Yeah, very true. But some problems are good problems to have.
Yeah.
Fair to say.
You need to remind yourself of that.
Exactly. And the reality of how our minds work is that there were always problems. We
look for problems. Yeah, we look for problems, right?
So when problems come, something I always do is I go, cool, it's just another problem to deal with. Mine's are still alive. Yeah. If you pursue a situation where you've got no problems, you're just going to be forever unhappy. Yeah. In fact, I look forward to that next problem, because that's the journey of life. That's what's fun, right? But taking a situation, so the money builds up. So what do you do? So you did a few things which are pretty cool. Number one, you took advantage of the ISA. So for those living in the UK, £20,000 up to every year, tax-free. So you invest through that opportunity, then you're getting a lot of your money being able to not have tax on it. And that accumulates every year. It's another 20 grand, it's another 20 grand. And obviously you got into that, pursued that to take advantage of that. Another thing you talked about is investing regularly each month. Now, obviously that's partly due to the nature of your situation. You're making a lot of money each month, and so you want to be doing it on the fly rather than in a one-off payment. But again, really cool that you're doing that, in that you're benefiting from this kind of pound cost averaging or dollar cost averaging. So whatever you're investing in could be going up, could be going down, could be going sideways, whatever. But what I notice is when people do that, is it's a lot less stressful. Let's say you're sitting on 100 grand and you're like, oh, what shall I do? Shall I put it in the stock market? Shall I buy property? Shall I do some course?
Yeah, it's a big decision, right? And
it's like a big deal. If it drops by 20%, you do that pre-COVID, that craziness happens, you're going to be freaking out. But if you put a bit of money in one month and the next month, and each month is going up or down, various prices, as that moves, it's not going to be that big a deal because you've gone in at different prices. Oh.
Anyone interesting?
Just a moment, just a moment.
Yeah.
Cool. So apologies for that, Greg. Yeah, so it helps, with that kind of stress of what to invest in and at what price. So talk me through it. I mean, did you get the benefits of that? Do you feel like it helped?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing for me with this has been just the practical steps and setting it up, like getting the investment account, finding the actual investments that I can monthly automatically invest in, like just those practical, because life's, there's problem to the next problem to the next problem. There's I guess I find everyone's got busy lives, right? And then money is kind of at the back of the mind, and when you, let's say you find half an hour on a Sunday and you're like, right, I'm going to tackle, I'm going to look for an investment account, like get this set up, inevitably you're going to start and you're going to hit some roadblock. And it's like, I guess it's just seeing that through to the point of, okay, the account's up and running, I've found the investments, I've found my approach, it's now automated, and it just happens. And I think the every month thing, I've understood the power now of the pound cost averaging, and I get that now, and then seeing this money just slide in every month, and just I check it every now and again, and I'm not concerned, because it feels like a long-term just chip away, block by block approach that I'm kind of bought into for the long run, and it kind of runs in the background, and I quite like that.
Cool. So it goes back to that point you were saying earlier around habits. From your experience, it's those daily, it's those regular habits that, when built up, is what gets you that success.
And interestingly, in with COVID and the big what happened in the stock market and stuff, this approach, I remember looking at it when COVID was kicking off, and it was like it was down a few percent, the whole thing, and seeing it stress tested in a time when the stock market was down, was it like 30%, or it was, I can't remember the amount, but it was a lot. And if I had 100 grand in the stock market, and I just lost 30 grand in a day or two, you'd feel that in your stomach.
You'd be freaking. So for those that don't know, this Ray Dalio all-weather portfolio that Greg's talking about, really interesting approach in that it takes a few things. Number one, it's the whole point of it is it's not timing the market. The whole point of that is all seasons, whether it's good times, bad times, inflationary, deflationary, whatever. The theory behind it is that approach should do well over the long run, regardless of what plays out through that process. Now, there's critics to it, there's pros and cons to it, there's a whole debate on that subject, and that's not one for today. But it is interesting in that what you've picked is a non-time sensitive approach, and also non-specific situation approach. You've not kind of said, right, well, COVID's happened, so I'm going to invest in this, or we've come out of a big depression and recession from 2008, so I'm going to do this. You've gone with something that's very foundational to start your investing journey. You've kind of gone with an ISA, and you've gone with a portfolio approach where you're just building up, you're creating that foundation from which to kind of build a much stronger financial future. So talk me just briefly on that before we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I view it. It's like it's a block, and it's like it's in place. It's capped at 20K per year. So now it's about, I'm looking at the other blocks. So what are those blocks? Is it more risky investments in the stock market? Is it going down that route, or is it property? Is it a mixture of the two? What are the other vehicles to now? And that's the, and I think that's just I think the process of just, starting and moving through things has, I think that's been key throughout. And whether it's the fun card or it's, the stocks and shares ISA now, and now I'm on to the next one, and I'm sort of scanning and trying to figure it out. It's like, okay, what is next? And that's kind of where we are today, really. It's like, assessing other opportunities.
Yeah, an iterative journey, taking it one step at a time, chunking it up so that it doesn't feel too crazy all in one, right? So, you rewind a few years ago where you were and financially not where you wanted to be, you've kind of broken it up. So, right, I'm going to go after this. I'm going to go after getting more reliable income. Then I'm going to go after more income. Then I'm going to go after location independence, so I can start to have a life more like what I'm looking at. Now I'm starting to build up wealth. What do I do with it? Right, I'm going to send a base foundation, nice and simple. Okay, now I've got a bit more. What do I do with it? Do I start to be more active in how I'm investing? Do I go with things that drive a higher return that's more situational? Yeah, I love it. Big fan of where you've got to, Greg, and the journey you're on. And I have no doubt when we're having the same conversation another 3 years, you're going to be on a far higher level again. But before we close up, for those watching the video, Greg, what kind of summary advice would you give those who are a little bit behind in terms of where you are, just starting this journey, maybe wanting to make a bit more money, save more, invest more, take more control over what they're doing, so they're not just kind of beholden to the path that's laid out in front of them?
I guess, we've covered it throughout this, so I guess it's kind of summing it up. It's like, I think it's getting clear on why it's important to you. Why is this area, why do you care? What is the emotional, or what's the thing that's driving you that really kind of, that motivates you? Getting clear first on that, the why, and then I think it's being very just clear on where are you today, and what's the next building block that you need to focus on, and not worrying about taking on the whole thing right now. It's about, okay, I am where I am today, this is where I want to go, what's the next block, and then just focusing on that. And once that's laid, okay, what's the next block? But it's it's easy to, and I'm guilty of it. It's like, there's a bit of analysis paralysis, and you start thinking about the whole picture, and it's like, no, scrap that. It's like, okay, what's the next one thing I need to do to move me forward towards this next, to where I ultimately want to be, and just go for that.
Great advice, Greg. Really, really valuable. So to summarize, you're effectively saying, know your outcome. What is it you're specifically going after? What are the what is it that's going to bridge that gap? What is it that you need to do to get there? And then start chunking it, focusing on what that next step is in front of you. Focusing on that. Once you've done that, then move to the next one, so it feels achievable and relatable. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, look, thank you so much for the time today.
Really pleasure. And thanks for all the help. It's been, I feel you've been part of, you've been part of the journey, and it's meaningful in many ways. And so thanks.
An honor, Greg. You're more than welcome. And I look forward to seeing where the next 3 years takes you. Take care.
Good night.